marketing strategies that you can use in 2026 to take your private practice to the next level and really grow, that are not just directory listings or Psychology Today. That's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. I'm gonna walk you through actionable things that you can implement. I'm gonna walk you through some strategies and basic concepts that you need to have in place. We're gonna do a lot of stuff today. And by the end of this video, I'm really hoping, it's always my intention, that you can take action. Like the minute it ends, I want you to be able to actually do something about it, okay? So that's the intention. That's what we're talking about. Different strategies heading into, we're in 2026. Boom. All right, so here we are. We just did the introduction, but let's just do another one. So directory listings, right? They are good, and I do think that people should be listed on directories. They're very low-hanging fruit. Therapy seekers are there. You should be there, but that's not what this video is about. All right, we're going above and beyond that. Now, I also think the landscape has shifted when it comes to private practice. Now, it says here clients find therapists differently now. You know, to some degree, right? I wrote that it is kind of true, right? There's like the AI that people find therapists through now. The searches are all different because of AI. People do still find therapists though through the old school means, right? Word of mouth, directory listings, and all of that. But as we head into 2026, things have definitely changed, and we need different strategies, different tools. You know, we need new ways of marketing our practice if we're going to stand out. Now, beyond clients finding therapists differently, I think the entire therapy world or the mental health world of private practice or therapists has changed in a couple of ways. I don't have them listed here, so let me just put them. One, I think it's become increasingly saturated. So now there are more therapists than ever in private practice. This is largely due to the startup companies that make it very easy to go into private practice, right? And then in addition to that, a lot of these therapists that are, you know, coming into private practice through Alma, Headway, other companies are often taking insurance, right? Which is totally fine, but it makes it very hard for someone to go cash pay if that's what you're hoping to do. In this video, we're going to talk about marketing that can be used across the board. Whether you want to be an insurance practice, a cash pay practice, you're going to market, you know, similarly. Okay. So I do think in that regard, it is more important than ever to be able to stand out and to market yourself really well, because the tradition, like before, you could put up a Psychology Today profile or directory listing and you could fill yourself up and maybe even a couple other therapists just that way. But that's not the case anymore. People are struggling to fill themselves up with just a directory listing. And so we need different strategies. All right. That's a little bit of a background, and it might not be different or mind-blowing strategies, but as therapists, we don't think much beyond Psychology Today. We might think about ads and things like that, but we definitely need to tap into higher level marketing strategies. That's what we're going to talk about. All right. Okay. And the other thing is, when it comes to marketing, everything is a bit of a risk, which is why we want to dip our toe into several different ventures. And we're never doing this randomly, but we do start off with minimal data. And then as we collect the data on that marketing venture, right, then we build off of that data. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. But just to keep it in check, we are always taking some risk with marketing, but we're always building off data. We're never doing things that are random, and then we're building from there. All right, so let's dive into these 5 different things. All right, number one, this is the number one, and this is not in any order, but number one on my list is content creation. Okay, now notice I'm not saying social media, right? I'm not talking about dancing videos or any of that kind of thing. But the reason why I'm not using the word social media is because people usually say, oh no, I don't want to do that. But this is not what I'm talking about. Social media content creation is basically a means to an end. Okay. So what exactly are we doing through that means, right? What we're really trying to do is build trust and give value to our potential clients. And this is going to be a foundational strategy for any marketing endeavor that you do. Right? This is how we build a business that's able to grow and to scale and have, you know, consistent, healthy referrals. People need to trust our business, right? And one way we do that is through content creation. Okay. Now people are going to hopefully naturally begin to trust you as they work with you. But what we're talking about here is the ability to build trust with someone so that they book the free call to work with you. Okay. So trust building is going to be crucial. And the best way that we can do that in 2026, the most scalable way, the most consistent way, is through content creation. It doesn't, the medium of content creation doesn't matter so much as what you're actually providing. And so what we really want to provide is value. Right? Now, value is subjective, right? But typically if you're a therapist in private practice, right, you want to be able to give someone something that they would deem as valuable as related to your specialty. So let me just give you an example. Let's say you work with I'm making this up off the top of my head. Let's say you work with working professionals dealing with anxiety, right? So you might then make a piece of content, and I'll talk about what kind of content I would recommend, but you might make a piece of content about 5 different ways you can, reduce anxiety in a public speaking place, in a place where you're going to do public speaking. Okay. And so maybe that then becomes a piece of content that lives, on the internet somewhere. And then as people watch that, if it's good and it's valuable, and obviously you're a therapist that specializes in this, right? We're not generating brand new content. We're just making content around the things we already know. You're going to start to build trust with potential clients. You're going to provide them something of value. They're going to be able to see you. If it's a video, we'll talk about that in a second, but they're going to be able to hear from you, and they're going to be able to consume that. And that is what starts to build trust. And again, I think this should be for any business and any brand, right? In particular, for people in private practice, this is important, right? So my recommendation is that you make videos, right? Long form videos, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that kind of thing. Again, the length of time doesn't matter too much, but what we're really trying to do is provide comprehensive value to people. Now, when it's a video, the reason I suggest this is because it gives people a sense of who you are. They can hear you, they can see you, right? They can see your mannerisms, all that kind of stuff. And our people are consuming video. I mean, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. Not to mention YouTube videos show up on regular Google search results as well. And to be found there is really, really helpful, right? And a video is easily shared, it's easily watched, they can listen, right? So there's a lot of ways people can consume a video. And I think that can be really, really helpful. So that's strategy number 1, is to begin creating content that provides value to your ideal client or your or the people that you're trying to reach. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is that when we start to create content, right? Content that's valuable to our potential clients, this is how you end up showing up in search results. Now, we can get really technical with SEO, but it really comes down to 2 major things. One is that you provide value, right? Like I'm saying. So in other words, value, the way we can think about value is that you actually give someone what they're looking for, right? So if someone is searching for recipes for the best meatballs in the world, if you created a blog post or a video that actually gives someone a wonderful recipe for meatballs, right? And people start to look at it or watch it and consume it, the Google is going to start to know this is valuable. This is relevant to what people are searching for. And that's the other thing. We want things to be relevant, right? So if someone is searching for how to do deep breathing or how to manage anxiety in public settings, right? And your video or your content shows up and it actually matches what they're looking for, this is really helpful as well. So we want it to be high quality and we want it to be relevant, right? Now, of course, there are other things involved as well. But I have found in my own business, as I've made high quality content that answers people's questions, I end up showing up in AI search results. Okay. I'm showing up in AI search results for this kind of like consulting marketing business. And I'm also showing up in AI search results for my clinical practice. All right. And it all comes down to creating this kind of content. Okay. So that's strategy number 1. I've spent oh my gosh, almost 7 minutes on that. Okay. Let's move on. Number 2 is what I would nest under newsletter / list building and list building. Okay. Number 1, I know you've heard people talk about newsletters before probably, and I'm not necessarily talking about something you send out weekly, although that's something you can work towards. But what you do want to start generating a list or a database of all the people who have raised their hands and said that they have wanted to work with you, right? So for example, if someone reaches out to you and they say, hey, I'm interested in therapy, and then they never follow up again, right? Where did that contact information go? Did you store it somewhere? Is it lost in your emails? Ideally, as you run your business and grow your business over over time, all that contact information, all that information of the people who have reached out to you, that is stored somewhere. Of course, in a HIPAA compliant way, in a secure way, but you want to keep a database of all the potential customers who have reached out. One way people do that is through newsletters, or I guess one way people do that is through having like a system or a CRM. So I currently use a CRM for my businesses, and whenever people reach out to us or contact us, in fact, we actually have forms built into our website. When people reach out on the website, it goes right into the CRM. Same thing with our scheduling tool, goes right into the CRM. They just become part of that system. It's kind of like an EHR for marketing. And for some of those folks, we don't have permission to market to them or to reach out about marketing things. But for other folks where they've opted in to our newsletter or something like that, you have to have the right permissions. You have to do everything the right way. But once someone opts in, you now have permission to email them or to message them, right, about kind of marketing stuff. And in the private practice world, this would be about maybe a new therapist you've hired or, new openings that are available. Again, you have to be very mindful of HIPAA compliance and following the right laws and regulations. But having a list and or newsletter is really, really helpful. Now, the reason why this is helpful also is because this newsletter or this list, right, which we're saying list, but it's email addresses, phone number, and names, being able to contact people. This survives any algorithm changes. With Google, if they change their algorithm tonight, tomorrow, all of our ads could fail, right? Or same thing with Meta or any other platform where the contact information lives. But if you have your own database, right? Algorithms can change, but you now still have a database of people, who have raised their hand and said they're interested in your practice. Another use case for this is a while back, we were running a group, right? And then we had to put the group on hold. And so we had a wait list, but then we weren't able to get it started. But what I was able to do, in the database, I knew everyone who had been interested in the group. So it was very easy to follow up with those folks when we were ready to launch the group again. We already had a whole bunch of people interested, a whole bunch of leads. And with one email, right, or in the database, I could filter it all. And then I was able to email and let people know, hey, the group is starting. And we were able to launch a group overnight. So that's the kind of thing that you can do with list building and newsletters. I currently do both the newsletter and the list inside of my CRM, right? If you're interested in checking out that CRM or you want to use it, I'm happy to set up a free demo for you. We can do that. There'll be a link down below. But I think this is overlooked in private practice world, really helpful, can be very, very powerful. Okay. Strategy number three is what I would bucket under free offers. Now, most therapists are offering a free consultation, right? Or a free, however you call it, right? And this is great. A lot of businesses don't do that, and that's valuable, right? But it's standard practice for most therapists, so it doesn't stand out as truly unique. So a couple of things that I would encourage people to consider, and again, this goes back into value, like giving people free value, building trust with your audience, are there some free resources that you can provide or free, we can come up, it doesn't matter what it is, it has to be valuable, okay? But a couple of ideas that I've thought about, webinars and workshops, right? Assessments or quizzes, right? Based on your specialty and things, mini courses, right? Something like that, right? Or that kind of thing. So I think the reason we want to do this is because, again, we want to have a something people can consume to let them know that you know what you're talking about, right? And so you can eventually run, let's say you do a webinar based on your specialty, right? Maybe it's a 30-minute webinar that you ran. It's about we'll just go with the anxiety one, how to manage anxiety in the workplace. You have that webinar. Now imagine you run ads to a webinar, right? And people get to hear you talk about your specialty for 30 minutes. And then from there, you have an invitation to book a free call. Ad, trust building, and then the option to book a free call, right? The people who call you are going to be people who watch the webinar and are potentially interested. So webinars, assessments, mini course. There's a lot of things we can do here. Again, we have to make sure all of this is done in a HIPAA compliant way. But these are free offers that we can give people. Or way past a newsletter itself is not, there's too many of those going around. I wouldn't be really doing too many free PDFs or ebooks. These are overdone in some regard. And so we want to really be creative here. Okay. So those are things I'm thinking about for people. And I think, again, these will just help us build our business, right? Let's imagine you're running, you have a webinar out, anyone can watch it. They have to maybe give you an email or contact. They have to opt in to see the webinar. Imagine, that getting shared to people, right? Maybe someone shared. And so it's really great. You can see how scalable this could potentially be. All right. So anyway, free offers, free value, but really genuine free value. All right, moving on. Running ads. So nothing mind-blowing here, but I think this is something therapists balk at. They hesitate because they either they've had a bad experience or they haven't done it properly and the ad just didn't work. But we can run successful ads, and we can even try them out and test them for a little while and make tweaks and changes, because on a whole, ads do work eventually, right? Ads usually, if we're doing properly and we're patient and we work at it, our ads can eventually give us a good return on investment. And so we can do basic search ads like Google search campaigns, right? We can also do brand awareness campaigns, right? So again, maybe we're running an ad, not necessarily for the sole focus of getting immediate clients, but to get our name out there, to get our practice out there, okay? And that kind of brand awareness might be an ad that runs to your webinar. Maybe it's an ad that, runs to another free resource that you have. So we can also do brand awareness campaigns, which tend to be a little bit more cost effective. And again, over the long haul, start to build a bigger brand, a larger awareness of your brand. Okay. And so I think there's a lot of potential here, right? I put $10 to $15 a day. Let's just get rid of that. I don't know why that's a mistake. It depends on your location, right? We can start small, right? We don't have to go, above and beyond with the amount. And then as we collect data, we can make adjustments as needed. Okay. So that's the thing. We're always collecting a bit of data, building off the data, getting more data, building off the data. But I think running ads can be very, very helpful. Again, you do need to have some understanding of how ads work. The thing about these platforms, Google and Meta are the two major ones that people use. They're very easy to set up, but they're very hard, not very hard. They take a lot of time, and you do have to learn how to get them right. So the problem is, because they make it so easy to set up, you can launch one, but you have no idea how to optimize it. You have no idea how to run it. And so people end up losing money and it's not working. And that's a real issue. So knowing how to run them or hiring someone to run them for you, at least teach you, is usually a good starting point, unless you can do it yourself. But running ads, I think, is going to be a huge strategy heading into 2026. And then this one, number 5, I saved it for last, but this is going to be solid foundation. So a lot of times therapists come to me and they're interested in running ads or creating offers or creating content and all that kind of stuff. But we also want to make sure the foundations are solid. So I should actually write here, let's just say solid website foundation. So a lot of therapists come and some have websites, some don't. Some websites are really well done, some are not. And so I usually at least have people start here and to make sure that they have the basics, right? And here's just a couple of the basics you want to keep in mind. One is you want the website to be easy to navigate, simple, not too cluttery, easy to use, okay? The thing you want to have clear service pages and specialty pages. So essentially, the way you want your website to be laid out, you want a home page. And this is a really simple overview. You want a home page, which is kind of like generally speaking what your practice is about, who you are, what your practice is. And think about your home page as like an introduction. And then you want to have service pages for your different niches and specialties. So maybe one's anxiety therapy, one's DBT therapy. And each of those specialties needs a page on the website. And now we can get more in depth with that, but those are some of the starting foundations: homepage, service pages. We want strong calls to action. So people need to easily be able to get in touch with us, book with us, call, whatever it is. It needs to be very easy and very clear. That needs to be on the website, right? It needs to function well also. So if they click contact me, it should allow them to contact you right away. If they click book, it should allow them to book, that kind of thing. And then we want the website to be mobile and desktop optimized. Most website builders now, Squarespace, Wix, they kind of have automations to make sure it's optimized. They'll let you know if it's optimized or not, and then you can easily fix it, right? And then you just want to make sure you're looking at both the mobile view. So look at it on your phone, look at it on your computer, make sure it looks good on both devices because things do change. And so you just want kind of the essentials of the website to be done well, because if you run an ad, even to like a landing page, and then people go to your website and it doesn't look good, it's not working well, you really start to lose credibility. So we don't need the most robust website to start. We don't need the best website to start, but we need the foundations in place. And this is just a high level overview of where to start. We can get a little bit more in depth with this, and perhaps I'll do that in future videos. Okay, so I think if you wanted to start somewhere in 2026, I would pick one of these and start it. If I was to pick one, okay, this is bonus, this is off the top of my head. If I was to pick one to start with, it would be content creation. Okay, this is where you're gonna start to really build trust with potential clients, and you're gonna be able to, this is gonna be really helpful because it could be on YouTube, it could live for a long time, it could be shared. If you're gonna pick one, you don't have much time, pick this one, okay? Content creation. Now, if you're interested in getting help with any of this stuff, you can book a free call with me down below, a free strategy call. I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about how I help folks. I do currently run a bespoke marketing service where I help people come up with custom projects for their actual practice, like what works for them, tailored specifically for them, and then I'll actually execute it on their behalf. If you're interested in that, book the call down below. We can talk a bit more about that. Other than that though, I hope you found this video helpful, hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video.